Good evening. I speak to you tonight from Washington, D.C. The state of our economy is tenuous, but our people remain the greatest example of freedom and prosperity the world has ever known. People say America is exceptional. I agree. But it's not the complexion of our skin or the twists in our DNA that make us unique. America is exceptional because we're founded upon the notion that anyone, in fact everyone, should be free to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. You know, for the first time in history, men and women were guaranteed in America a chance to succeed based not on who your parents were, but on your own initiative and your desire to work. We're in danger, though, of forgetting what made us great. The president seems to think the country can continue to borrow $50,000 every second. The president believes that if we can just squeeze more money out of those who are working, I don't think it'll work. The path we are on is not sustainable, but few in Congress or in this administration seem to recognize that their actions are endangering the prosperity of this great nation. Ronald Reagan said, "Government is not the answer to the problem. Government is the problem." Tonight, the president told the nation he disagrees. President Obama believes that government is the solution. More government, more taxes, more debt. What the president fails to grasp is that the American system that rewards hard work is what made America so prosperous. What America needs is not Robin Hood, but Adam Smith. In the year we won our independence, Adam Smith described what creates the wealth of nations. He described a limited government that largely did not interfere with individuals in their pursuit of happiness. All that we are, all that we wish to be is now threatened by the notion that you can have something for nothing, that you can have your cake and eat it too, that you can spend $1 trillion every year that you don't have. I was elected to the Senate in 2010 by people who were worried about their country, worried about their kids, and worried about their future. I thought I knew how bad it was until I got here. It's worse than I could have ever imagined. Congress is debating the wrong things. Every debate in Washington is about how much to increase spending, a little or a lot. How much to increase taxes, a little or a lot. The president does this big, oh, woe is me, over the $1.2 trillion sequester cuts in spending that he endorsed and he signed into law. Some Republicans are now joining him. Few people understand that the sequester doesn't even cut any spending. It just slows the rate of growth. Even with the sequester, if it goes through, government will grow over $7 trillion over the next decade. Only in Washington could an increase in $7 trillion in spending over a decade be called a cut. So what is the president's answer? Over the past 4 years, he has added over $6 trillion in new debt and may well do the same in a second term. What solutions does he offer? He takes entitlement reform off the table and seeks to squeeze more money out of the private sector. He says he wants a balanced approach. What the country really needs is a balanced budget. Washington acts in a way that your family never could. They spend money they don't have. They borrow from future generations. And then they blame each other for never fixing the problem. Tonight I urge you to demand a new course. Demand Washington change their ways or be sent home. To begin with, we absolutely must pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. The amendment must include strict tax and spending limitations. Liberals complain that the budget can't be balanced. But if you cut just 1 penny from each dollar we currently spend, the budget would balance within 6 or 7 years. The penny plan has been crafted into a bill that millions of conservatives across the country support. It is often said there's not enough bipartisanship up here. That's not true. In fact, there's plenty of bipartisanship. Both parties have been guilty of spending too much, of protecting their sacred cows, of backroom deals in which everyone up here wins, but every taxpayer loses. It's time for a new bipartisan consensus. It's time Democrats admit that not every dollar spent on domestic programs is sacred, and it's time Republicans, myself included, realize that military spending is not immune to waste and fraud. Where would we cut spending? Well, let's start with ending all foreign aid to countries that are burning our flag and chanting death to America. In addition, the president could begin by stopping selling or giving F-16s and Abrams tanks to Islamic radicals in Egypt. Not only should the sequester stand, many pundits say the sequester's far short, that we need $4 trillion in cuts. If you were to freeze spending, it would actually be called $9 trillion in Washington. If we don't, we're in danger of having our credit rating downgraded. Now, both parties will have to agree to cut. We have to work together, or we'll never fix our fiscal mess. Bipartisanship is not what is missing in Washington. Common sense is. $1 trillion deficits hurt us all. Printing more money just feeds the never-ending appetite for spending, and it hurts us all. We pay higher prices every time we go to the supermarket or the gas pump. The value of the dollar shrinks with each new day. Contrary to what the president claims, big government and debt are not a friend to the poor and the elderly. Big government debt keeps the poor poor and saps the savings of the elderly. This massive expansion of debt destroys savings and steals the value of your wages. Big government makes it more expensive to put food on the table. Big government's not your friend. The president offers you free stuff, but his policies keep you poor. Under President Obama, the ranks of America's poor have swelled to almost 1 in 6 people. We are now at an all-time high in long-term unemployment. Millions of Americans are struggling and out of work. The cycle must be broken. The willpower to do this will not come from Congress. I've seen how they act. It must come from the American people. Next month, I'll propose a 5-year balanced budget, a budget that last year was endorsed by taxpayer groups across the country for its boldness and for actually solving the problem. I will work with anyone on either side of the aisle who wants to cut spending. But in recent years, there's been nobody to work with. The president's passed massive tax hikes and spending increases. And you know how many people he gets to vote for his budget? 0. Nobody voted for his budget. Not a single Democrat voted for the president's budget. How's that for leadership? But at least he tried. Senate Democrats have not even produced a budget in the entire time that I've been in office. This is shameful. It's a display of incompetence that illustrates their lack of seriousness. Let us tonight let them know that we hear their voices, that we can and must work together, that we can and must rechart our course towards a better future. America has much greatness left in her. We will begin to thrive again when we begin to believe in ourselves again, when we regain our respect for our founding documents, when we balance our budget, when we understand that capitalism and free markets and free individuals are what creates our nation's prosperity. Thank you, and God bless America.
How much longer and what else needs to be done in order to satisfy the call of what the San Francisco liberals and the Los Angeles liberals consider as doing something for the poor? I mean, my God, Lyndon Baines Johnson established what is known as the Great Society, and the purpose was to do something for the poor. Do something for the poor. All throughout the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, it's been do something for the poor. I mean, Bill Clinton runs around and gives away billions of dollars in Africa. I mean, billions. U2 and Bono and all that crowd of philanthropists and whoever else that they might want to title themselves running around over in Africa and every place they can find a black face to do something for the poor. What I want to ask as a question is, when in the heck are we going to see the poor doing something for themselves? That's what I want to know. I mean, all right, okay, Jeremiah, right? So we did bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima, 50, 60 years ago. But my God, the Japanese have turned around and built a great society, and they're selling all y'all black folk Lexuses, Toyotas, and Camrys and everything else. Well, when the black people going to turn around after everything is done for them and do something for somebody else? I mean, all this business is health care, doing something for the poor, doing something for the poor, doing something for the poor. When in the heck are poor people going to turn around and do something for somebody else, except wait for people to do something for them for the next 350 years? All right, so you voted in a black president. Was that what you were trying to do? To do something for the poor? So you got the long-legged Mac Daddy now. He's going to get $1.5 million for a prize that he didn't earn, the Nobel Peace Prize. He's going to get $1.3 million for that. When are the poor people, after all of what has been done, all the taxpayer money, all the Great Society, all the Community Reinvestment Act, all of the money dumped into programs like you won't believe, from condoms to baby diapers to peanut butter to pork in a can, when are the poor people going to do something for themselves? I mean, what is going on in this? When are black people going to get sick and tired of always being on the bottom after billions of dollars are poured into their neighborhoods? Okay, so you make them mayors of cities. You even got one now that's allegedly black. That's the president. And you still got to do something for the poor people, Poor people. Well, we got to be the way we poor people. We got to do something for the poor people. And half of the poor that you're talking about doing something are grown men laying up in the bed till 11 or 12 o'clock in the day on drugs, on SSI. You call that poor? I don't call that poor. These men are just scared to go to jail because their brothers have gone to jail. What is this? We got to do something for the poor. So we need this health care reform bill because we got to do something for poor people. I've never seen anything as foolish as this all my life. When are the poor people going to ever stand up and do something for themselves? They don't ever have to do anything for everybody else that's been doing something for them for the last 50 years. When poor people are going to just turn around and do something for them, when they're going to turn around and wipe their own behinds? For once in our lifetime, can we ever see poor people stand up and wipe their own behinds? For once. Well, we've been discriminated against. Will you shut up? They had us here slaves, They brought us from Africa. My God! You say that one more time, I'm going to choke you. One more time. If I hear that one more time out of you, I'm going to choke your tongue out your mouth. Well, let me repent for that. Lord, forgive me for saying I'm going to choke somebody, because I'm not really going to do it. I'm just tired. I'm sick and tired. And listen, I live in Harlem, and I said that all this doing something for the poor haven't helped the poor at all. All it has done done, it has furthered the careers of people like Jackson, Sharpton, Obama, and a whole lot of others, has furthered their careers, but they haven't done anything for poor people. They're just as stupid, dumb, poor, sick, worthless, drug-addicted, crime-riddled, hate-minded as they've ever been. Got to do something for the poor people. Got to do something for the poor people. We as Americans, we got to do something for the poor. Lord have mercy. This is really sickening, you know. I mean, it's about as sickening as you can get. When are poor people going to ever stand up and do something for themselves? When? You tell me. How much longer do we have to wait? And the more you give them, the worse they become. The more you give these so-called poor, namely code language for black people, the more you give them, the worse they become. I guarantee you, roll the clock back 60 years, cut the welfare system, and cut all this other entitlement, and watch the black community stand up and start building schools and churches and banks, and men staying at home raising their children. Roll the clock back 70 years, good God Almighty, and you'll watch a great black society. Even in the midst of Jim Crow and the Ku Klux Klan, black people were then stellar family people, building their own communities, servicing their own communities, building banks right next to white-only water fountains 70 years ago. But once we started giving and helping the poor, got to help the poor people now. Well, we need affirmative action, you know, because the poor and the black people, we got to level the playing field. Good God Almighty. I got your playing field all right. It's been 70 years, 50 years non-stop of giving to the poor, and they still poor. Hey, when y'all gonna wake up out there? You're throwing your money down a rat hole. You call it the poor hole. You're throwing your money down a rat hole fooling with these black people. You're throwing your money down a rat hole. Haven't you noticed they're not getting better? They're going to jail, making more babies, killing one another in Chicago, killing one another in Detroit. Haven't you noticed they're not getting better? You put them on television, they get worse. And their leaders are getting fatter, money-wise. Jackson and Sharpton got to do something for the poor. I've never seen anything as ridiculous as this health care bill program. I mean, God-fearing Americans ought to march on Washington and then surround the Capitol building and say, we're not letting none of y'all out here till you scrap this health care bill. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I mean, what's wrong with y'all Americans out there? Why y'all still going for this okie doke that you got to give money, you got to keep giving your hard-earned money to some poor drug addict in Harlem or in Detroit or in South Central Los Angeles? What's up with that? Why do you think, why are you letting Jackson and Sharpton and Obama, Maxine Waters, Sheila Jackson Lee, John Conyers, Charles Rangel, and a host of other lying black lips tell you that you got to take your hard-earned money and support a man who makes 4 or 5 women pregnant, and now you got to support his babies? I'm talking about you out there in Indiana. Hey, you out there in Elkhart, Indiana. Why you got to take care of black man's baby in Harlem? What's up with that? What's wrong with y'all? Why y'all keep letting this? Are y'all so guilt-ridden by slavery that every time the black person cries, your pocketbook and billfold dries? Every time a black man cries, I need help, you have to pay for it. Even when he robs his own brother right in his own neighborhood, you still got to pay for his lawyer. You got to pay for his prison. You have to, no matter what that black man does, no matter what the so-called poor does, you got to pay for it. It's time this foolishness stopped in America. It stopped. It doesn't have to be this way. This is adverse to God. God never created anybody to live the way black people live. This has got to stop. God is sick of it. If y'all aren't sick of paying for it, God is sick of it. He's sick of this. No man on earth should ever live the way black people live, with their crazy selves. Always crying discrimination, always crying slavery, always talking about the white man. God didn't create us to live in this mess. It needs to stop, and it needs to stop now.